All right. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're all here. And I will call the meeting to order now. Terry, is Terry online or he's not here at all?
He's on.
He's on. Okay. So, I will call to determination of the forum. Ms. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Paparingo.
Here.
Dr. Curtis.
Here.
Mr. Feldbaum.
Here.
Dr. Garcia.
Here.
And I am here. Right, we are moving to the consent agenda. We have the library board minutes, the declaration of access to withdrawn library materials, personnel changes, and the bill list. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Can I ask a question?
Yes, when I ask for discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so now is the discussion. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm just curious. I noticed, Anjanette, that the, accounts payable voucher summary seems to be, well, it's 24 pages this month, and historically it's been much compressed, like 5 pages or 4
Right.
pages. So I'm not objecting to it. I think it's great that we have this additional detail, but I'm just curious as to what it is we're seeing now versus what it is we've been seeing historically.
So we are, this is part of my financial report, but you have to explain it now.
Was that a
So
part
we
of
are,
the consent agenda?
say that,
Was that a part of the consent agenda?
It is.
Yeah.
the bill is, I'm just saying that what I'm gonna explain is in my,
Okay.
report already. So we are now, probably meetings ago, we have switched accounting software. So we used to be on a software called Key Fund. Now we are on a software called BSNA. And with BSNA, the way that we have to put in invoices, it's really actually almost a line by line transaction on the invoice. So it gives you more detail. So a lot of times, and I'll use this example because we've used this example before. So a lot of times you would see the corporate credit card, and the corporate credit card would say such and such travel for $28,000, but that's not true. It was really the detail underneath. Or would be salaries would all roll up to one person. And so now this software actually, it splits it out. So yes, it is many more pages. And so, that's why we have more detail.
Okay. And then like, so for example, the one thing I was also just a little bit, so I appreciated very much the check memorandum thing, because then it's pretty
It
much
gives you a little bit more
self-explanatory.
detail, yes.
But on page, well, the first page of that system, page 14 of our packet, there's, the first 8 items or whatever are all, it looks like we're paying ourselves. So it's 79,000, 59,000, 60,000, 50,000, 38,000 flowing from us to us. So do you know what's going on
Yes.
with all those?
So those are the payroll journal entries.
This
So
is all
that is the beginning of the month. And so at the beginning of the month, we were in transition into the software. So that was basically an import. And then now we're actually doing journal entries.
Okay.
And so at the end, you'll see, somewhere near the end page, you'll see a little section that is basically journal entries. Because we're not doing vouchers, which were checks. We're not doing that anymore. We're doing actually a journal entry, makes it a little bit easier for us. And it's really the accounting way to move money in between the two accounts. And so so you won't see the payroll, that little section. We do not believe you'll see that anymore after.
No worries. Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, director's report.
So I want to just start with a couple of pictures. A little bigger here.
For like January.
Those librarians making a ruckus. So this is just kind of a fun one of them pouring the foundation for the addition at LaSalle. We're really quite a bit further along than that. This is actually today. Lisa went out there and took this picture for me today. So this in the green is the addition. I believe the new roofing is on. It looks like it's on. Is it on? It's supposed to, it might not. hard to tell, anyway. That's the addition closed in. Here we go. This is the new entrance, so, if you recall. This sort of inlet is where the original entrance was, and the parking lot is out here. So this will be a really much more visible and like just welcoming entrance for patrons. This becomes a window, floor to ceiling window for people to look out. I should have just stayed up there because I didn't want to here. So this is the inside looking out into the addition. And this is when they were framing it, so it doesn't look exactly like it does now, but you can see that from here to here, all of this wall is coming out. So it will just feel like a big open space. And then its place will be a really large, called a nano wall, big glass doors. So most of the time it will be open because getting those kids after school to go into the meeting room to participate in the activity is real tricky. But if it's all just open, they're gonna hang out in the entire space, but we can close it for programs and larger events. We do have a study room that will hold 6 people. And that will accommodate most of the meetings they've been having at LaSalle. So there's a 6-person, 2-person study room, and then this large open space that can be closed up. So that's exciting. Western, we're waiting on the state permit. They have until Wednesday to permit us. And I texted the architect today, have we heard back? He said, no, technically they have till Wednesday. So we're waiting on permits for Western. But just because I had pictures and just because it's exciting. There we go. But staff have dubbed it the Dream Machine. So they are going this weekend, is that right, Karen? Sunday, and they'll inspect it on Monday, and then it should be delivered December 2nd and make its debut appearance at the holiday parade downtown South Bend here. This is the other side. At the top, you'll see an awning that will come out. The back books on board. So cute. And one more picture for the inside. You can see all these carts are sort of latched in there, and they'll be able to bring them out and either put them under the awning or the sort of longer term plan is to make arrangements with long-term care facilities and do lobby stops where we bring the books inside for the residents to check out. Thank you, Azaria.
So is there a place to
Yes, thank you for asking.
place to keep
To
it?
place it, yes. So the original goal was to have a garage at Western, and that did not fit within the budget, so that hopefully eventually will come. In the meantime, we're putting electric out at, it is not an electric vehicle. It does require electricity for stuff that it does, the awning and the lighting and the ramp, et cetera. Francis Branch has a nice concrete pad where this dumpster is, that's real close to the building. We're moving the dumpster and parking this over there. And they also have room inside that building to hold the collection and whatever else outreach needs.
So there won't be a lot of stuff left in there that can be
No,
Correct,
vandalized.
no.
Okay.
correct.
Books have temperature.
Right,
ranges.
so those, you're gonna bring stuff in
Yeah.
or whatever, when you're not using it.
Yep, so that's very exciting. Annual reviews are in full swing, and kudos to HR, Kara, and the entire team. They gathered a large group early in the year of branch managers,
Supervisors.
supervisors of all sorts.
All supervisors of all levels but with the focus on folks who are really good at writing balanced reviews. To
look
the
at the
superstar
process.
review team.
Yes, the mid-year iteration of that was a little more complex than we wanted it to be. So we've iterated, we've pared it down.
Yes.
So we're about 61% completed on those. Anjanette and I received the first round of projections from Senator Dalton, and we do usually work with Baker Tilly for our financial projections. I wanted to start with Senator Dalton because they do the county's projections. So we'll also get them from Baker Tilly, and then we're gonna start making plans A, B, and C, and figuring out where we go from here. There's a lot, I mean, all of the municipalities are knocking on the doors of their legislators. We know it's gonna be taken up to some degree in the legislative session in January. Nobody knows where we'll land with that. Thus the need for plans A, B, C, and D. Explore Story was a lot of fun. We had about more than 400 people come. Kara's nodding because she brought her little ones. If you have little ones and you haven't brought them to that event, it's so much fun. Fish Off was here. Verona Quartet, that's who I saw performing A Bad Case of the Stripes. It's just fun. And here there was, what was in this room? Drums. This room was full of drums for the kids to play with.
Rhythm to You, that's what it was.
Rhythm to You. Another room had the big foam blocks that are this big. Another room had Duplos. There was a very kind of darkened with twinkle lights and little cushions to sit on reading room down at that end of the hallway. And I was like, oh my goodness, the parents must be so glad to see you here. It's just a little break, a little breather, some face painting, all kinds of things for the kids. And I've been making the rounds of departmental meetings. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm sitting in, listening in, and then making myself available for any of their questions. So sometimes, depending on the department, some of them like to send me all their questions in advance. So we follow the script, and others I show up and they just have questions for me when I get there, and I'm here for all of it. Love it. And then we're beginning to migrate all the staff computers to Jump Cloud, which is sort of an Active Directory situation. It will just give us a little more control over the computers. It will make IT's life a lot easier, and it will increase our cybersecurity. So kudos to Corey and his team for getting that going. And then we had 10 staff members attend ILF's annual conference. I was supposed to present with Jana, who's our senior manager in crisis intervention, and Kaylee, our social worker. I was down there already. They got caught up here with the snow. So I presented my little piece and their piece off notes, but it was well received. So we had a good time. And they appreciated that I said, it's okay if you don't come, I got you. And they didn't have to drive in the snow.
All right, any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the director's report. So moved. Second? It's been moved and seconded, to accept the director's report. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, patron engagement report, Ms. Plummer.
Hi, I'm over here this time. Okay, on page 1, I have a couple photos of programs. Halloween was at Tut Branch on October 9th. It was a really fun event. The whole parking lot was packed. And then Dinner and a Book with Yvonne Castaneda, and she was our culturally speaking author on October 1st. And then I wanted to point out that once again, Dave Pilkey's books are the top checkouts at Children's, which ties in nicely with the event that's going to be at the Morris on December 9th with Dave Pilkey, and then a live performance of Dogman. And then on page 2, I wanted to point out that while total visitors were down, there were actually increases in Maine, Francis, German, Western, Lakeville, and Tut. And page 3, oh, that was door count. Total circulation on page 3, we're holding steady at right around 175,000 circulations. Page 4, I wanted to point out that there was a decrease in attendance by 0 to 5-year-olds due to fewer early literacy programs because we had the 2nd grade South Bend Ready tours that kind of took up the whole month with really good results. And then page 5, I just wanted to feature something. We have a rotating art gallery on the second floor. And this particular photographer, she takes pictures of Potawatomi Zoo animals. And she had a really great attendance for her opening with 60 people, and WSBT caught wind of it, and she was featured on Hometown Living. I think it was pretty special. And she was really happy with the support that the library had in her role. And she even did sort of an unofficial closing of her own. She brought like 20 family and friends before it was all taken down. That's all.
Yeah, I really appreciated that art exhibit.
It was so
It
cool.
was very nice. Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Philbom?
Ronna, when did center open?
Was it September 2nd? September 2nd.
So am I correct in looking on whatever it says, page 2 of when it says visitors by branch,
Okay.
is the blue bar the number of people this year versus the?
Yes.
So why would center, I would think everybody has been talking to me about how amazing the new improved Kern Road Center branch is. It seems like, notwithstanding that, it's down.
Yeah, I did check on that to make sure it was accurate, and it is.
It's not, remember, the door counter was not working correctly.
That was in November. This is for October.
I just thought it wasn't working well from the very beginning.
Well, this is for the entire year, right? Year
Is
over
that
year.
This is just October.
Oh, it's not.
Visitors by branch is just October. So last October, they had more than 18,000 visitors.
Yeah, last October, they had 17,160, and this year 7,372.
What
So
was last October?
That's gotta be,
that is
Karen's
really
gotta be
high.
right. That,
Yeah.
that it-
Parking lot's
Checked
just
with
full.
IT, and they said October was fine for the gate count.
Huh.
Weren't any problems. But I can double check. I'll check again to see.
I mean, the only reason I'm pointing out is that especially if people outside of the library are looking at these statistics, if we're gonna put this out there, if it's not accurate, better not to have it at all than to
Yeah.
have it if it's way off, because what that does, and it looks like the total visitors in the line above seem like it's way dropping off and the whole thing. So it's an important, or to footnote it, if it's just to explain that the machine's not working or something. Okay, thanks.
It was working accurately, but.
Yeah.
maybe.
Right, it makes me think that October 2024 was
Right.
the issue with 17,000.
There's 2 entry points now too, so you can come in through, look at the.
Yeah, the 17,000 is an anomaly. I'm looking at the data sheet. It does say 17,000. But 7,000 would be more consistent with the year before and this year.
Right.
I wonder if there was like early election or something and they were.
Election.
That's what it was.
I should have known that. I was there.
So maybe what we ought to be doing, in all seriousness, is maybe we need to try to figure out a way to put.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the note in here right now.
Just so we know
Yeah,
when there's
sure.
something really weird, because if not, we look really bad the next year. It's like, what's
So
going?
you're saying 17,000, but when I'm confused. I look at this graph, visitors by branch, it only goes to about 7,000.
The orange.
The orange.
Goes to
I
17.
think it's.
Which way is yours? This one is mine. Oh, that's not what mine looks like.
Yeah, I
Hers
think she's
looks
looking
different.
for it, But it is 17.
Are you on November's?
Yeah, are you on the list? I don't think you're on the packet. Could be not on the right. Oh, you're right. I am not. That is so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, got it. I'll be back on track here.
Okay, I'll make a note of October 24. It was
That's the-
early voting. That made a
Okay.
big difference.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all at once.
Yeah.
Well, that could have been why for the whole year, if we're way off, because we we also did elections
Mhm.
here. Well, how many branches did we do?
Just Main and Center.
Okay.
Yeah, that is exactly the reason for it. It was very busy, a very busy voting
I
site.
remembered that, Ellen. Thank you,
You
Ellen.
said some kind of election or something?
Was indeed a presidential election.
Okay, any other questions? All right, and now the financial report, Ms. Dantzler.
So I'm gonna talk about the reports in there, but I'm also gonna talk about kind of what Alan brought up. So we are now on BSNA. We're trying to call it BSA, and not have the and in there, but either way it works. So we're on a new software. So your reports may look a little bit different. Right now I'm trying to keep them somewhat consistent with what you're used to looking at. But there definitely will be some, column changes and some other things that, that I know that this software can do that we couldn't do before. So they'll look, the appropriations report and what they now call the revenue and expenditure report, it's really just expenditures. That is, they will look slightly different. So there are some additional columns in some places. So on your, on the revenue and expenditure report, which used to be the appropriations report, there's some more new columns. Headings are a little bit different, some additional percentages, that will hopefully help you, kind of look at the data a little bit differently. So one thing I'll point out on the expenditure report, which was the appropriations report, there were a couple lines last month, well, the last few months that were negative. They were negative because we were paying those out Western expenditures that we had to pay. We were paying those out of operating. We have now done a journal entry and moved those dollars into the correct Western accounts. And so now they're not negative anymore, right? And so, because it wasn't really negative, it's just how you have to do the appropriation within the account. The little tariff one, that's because I wanted to watch what was going on with tariffs. So we just moved an appropriation down to see how much we're, if at any, we're getting any tariff dings. Not that many, as you can see, but we will do, our year-end transfers and that will not be negative anymore. So along with that, we are doing, I didn't realize those can do it. You're also seeing, a little bit of, which I don't usually show, that's like the gift funds and some other funds that are at the bottom of that report. That's something we don't usually report on. I usually don't actually put those in there. So I'm not sure why they ended up on the report. But that's something that we don't budget with DLGF anyway, in that manner. So those are numbers I would not be really concerned about because we don't put a budget number in our system to do that. We will probably start doing that going forward, but we do not, we don't report those budget numbers in there. Let's see.
You might notice in the fund report, what I am most excited about,
Yes.
and I'm sure
Every
I'm
day.
sick of hearing about it, there are commas.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to read the numbers.
Our budget reports did not have
You
comments.
couldn't do a comma.
In the whole
Look at
entire
that then.
system, there were no comments. And so, so we're doing that. So with that, just some more information, that if you have any questions about the report, please feel free to ask me. We now can do journal entries in the software. Before we used to do what was called transfers as an accountant. That's not what we do. It was very cumbersome. We had to do multiple things to get numbers to move where we wanted them to. And so now we can do journal entries in there. We are now moving toward being more paperless. And so now I am actually able to approve the invoices in the system as she puts them in. So I already have to approve the purchase order when it goes in. But now as soon as it turns into a purchase order, she gets the invoice, she's getting ready to do check. I look at it, I can see it, I can say, yep, everything is what it is. I can see the vendor and I approve it as it goes. So I no longer have a stack of checks on my desk when I get back after the board. Stacks. I had probably 7 stacks at least that I had to go through and look at invoices. So I'm very happy about that. So I think it's more efficient. We will be, using paper. It is, less paper. So we, don't have to print everything out. The DLGF and SBOA, they have already said, no, this system works for what we need from retention purposes. If we come into audit, we will just go into your system and we will pull what we need. And, we don't have to, basically what we do now is we take a piece of paper and then we scan it to them and they don't see the piece of paper anyway. So we're doing it electronic anyway. So it's a helpful system for us. So that is, the biggest thing, with the new system. Does anybody have any questions regarding the, financial reports? Yes.
A few things. So I think you explained this, but I'm not sure that I totally tracked it. So first of all, one thing that would be helpful for me, if it's possible to do, is would it be possible on each page of this report to ask it to put the headings in?
I can do that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going for it, because I keep having to refer back up
Sure.
to the column to figure out what it is that especially when I see the red, so I'm thinking, what, that's red, so what is that, why is that red?
Right.
What am I referring to? So if you all can just, that'd be helpful for us. The other thing is too, percent of budget remaining where it says 100%. But sometimes like when things, like when we're over budget, you know, or when what I'm trying to figure out, and I think you touched on this, but it's on the 200, all the red on the, when we got down to the,
Right. Which is something you haven't seen before, but go ahead.
yeah, all right, so the expenditures, and I apologize, the LAS construction bond, the 404, it's about 4 pages in, and we have like 10 columns that are only got the red negatives, and it all equals 100%. So can you just sort of explain, you're saying that actually wasn't in the budget, so that's why?
So it's not something that we report. We do have the budget. It is budgeted. It's just something that in general, we haven't brought to the board at this point in time in the budget process, right? So, and my plan was actually to have it, report in December to show you where we were with the construction, projects. But yes, let me go down.
So when it says amended budget, the first column is amended budget. And when that says 0,
We have not put those budget numbers in the software.
in this software,
Right, I track those numbers on the spreadsheet, but I have not generally tracked them in the accounting software.
Okay.
Because it just is not that conducive to doing that. And when we're doing the AFR and the other, state reports at the end, they're only really asking us for the operating dollars. So I have not put those
Okay.
in there for the other funds. I know where they are, but I have not reported those because they're not getting kicked out of the
okay,
software.
so starting in 2026.
Yes,
I assume
they will
next
be-
month they probably could be screwy too,
Yes,
because
they
you
will.
can't help it.
Correct.
But starting next year,
You
if
will,
there's a
you will
bunch of-
see all the full budget for all of the.
everything should match up, so we shouldn't be seeing a whole lot of red
Correct.
unless, or if we
Yes.
do, we ought to be asking questions, or you ought to be telling us what's
Absolutely.
going on there.
100%, yes,
And that will be at the February board meeting
correct.
Yeah,
or
sure.
January.
Okay, all right.
So right now, we were just concerned about, let's get operating in there because that's what everybody already sees. And make sure that we have operating. We know, internally where we are with the bond and where we are with those.
Yeah, okay. I was just trying to make sense of all these, all this red in this
Sure.
report. Okay.
Any other questions? So while we have you on deck,
I have something, like I already know what you're gonna ask, but go ahead.
yeah, could you comment on the criticism that we received on social media?
Sure. And I have something written up, so I'm gonna read it and then you can ask me questions after that, if that's okay? Okay, all right, so I'm aware of some questions regarding the final audit presentation by Pro on behalf of SBOA. I want to clarify a narrative discussed on social media that contained misinformation and misinterpretation of the information in the final audit report. Without clarity of how or why an audit is completed, a non-accountant will misinterpret a process change as something it is not. Audits are performed to provide an independent, objective assessment to verify financial information, ensure compliance with laws and regulations, improve operational efficiency and processes, and validate internal controls. The audit note specifically speaks to a timing difference when we post a transaction versus when we actually, when the transaction happens. I am a 32-year degreed accountant with Fortune 100 company audits, state audits, and have created thousands of fund accounting, school government, and library financial statements over my 32-year accounting career. Timing differences happen frequently in accrual accounting and are adjusted through journal entries. We are cash basis in our software, our prior software, at the time did not accommodate journal entries. In 2023, we began our investing in Trust Indiana, which is not actually a bank. It's an investment portfolio. So the funds were set up in the fund accounts in a way that it was advised by another CFO who had been using Trust Indiana for years. The SBOA also was consulted to ensure that this method could be used. These were set up similar to CD accounts. So in a CD account, you put the revenue in at the end of the life of the life of the CD. So you don't actually get you don't see the interest until the end. But because we technically are getting interest every day, we decided to book the interest or the earnings, it's really not interest, the earnings at the end of the month, and then reinvest it at the beginning of the month. So it's a timing difference. We accounted for our earnings monthly and showed the reinvestment at the next month, as this methodology was investment earnings and not interest. The earnings on our investments were $731,902. This was accounted for every month since we began. So there was always revenue accounted every single month. In 2024, without being able to do a prior period adjustment, normally you do a prior period adjustments at the end of the year to change your accounts if you need to. But as I looked at the accounts, I decided with consultation of the SBOA that making the accounts flow like a regular bank account made more sense, right? So what we do with a regular bank account, when we get the reconciliation, now we are doing bank reconciliations with Trust Indiana. We take that number, we book it to the reconciliation, clear the reconciliation, it is now a zero. So because I can't do a prior period adjustment, I have to fix it in the year that we decide to change the process. I can't go back a year and change the process a year before. So you have to change it in that year. And see, the accounting process had to be changed and the information was available. This information was available for the county component unit auditors and the pro SBOA auditors. And it was already fixed at the point when the component unit audit was done. Normal practice would have been to make a prior period adjustment. However, our previous bookkeeping software did not easily accommodate prior period adjustments or journal entries. Prior period adjustments are common practice in accounting practice. It happens all the time, every single month, all the time when you're doing accounting. That's what a journal entry is for. Also with the AFR, I could have went back and updated the AFR. You're allowed to update the AFR all the way until you do the next AFR. But I felt that for transparency purposes, that I was going to leave the AFR as it was and allow the audit note to happen because it was already fixed in the software. And SBO said, again, says that that's fine. It's really that simple. We are always accounting for the earnings and the money was never misplaced. It was a simple correction to bookkeeping method. Again, this happens all of the time. So while we did get an audit exception as a result, the auditor didn't worry about it because it was clear what had happened and that the process change had already happened and has been followed going forward. So that is my statement.
And that's a mic drop right there.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And at no time was I unaware of what was happening.
Of course.
So, and Anjanette made the process better.
Thank you, Anjanette. Any comments or questions? All right, at this point, I'll take a motion to approve both the patron engagement report and the financial report. I have a motion.
So.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the two reports. Any other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business? Okay, new business, wages and salaries, Ms. Yeomans.
Hello. So if you remember, last month, you approved the overall personnel budget of $13,223,000. And I am just recommending how we would like to use those funds and how much of those funds we would like to use. We are not doing anything out of the ordinary. Actually, in looking back at previous memos, this was like the simplest one we've had in a very long time. So that's a good thing. So we would like to recommend an overall increase of 4% for our staff, with a 3% increase to our ranges, which is listed on the second page of the memo. And it just breaks down all of those pay grades. So that's pretty straightforward. The reason we always do a smaller percentage for the ranges than we do for the staff, so that we ensure that staff are moving appropriately through the range as they go through their time with us. Somebody should be going through that. They shouldn't be right in the middle for forevermore. And then additionally, we would like to continue the pay for performance methodology that we've been using. We feel like it's an equitable way to acknowledge performance. As Stephanie said in her director's report, we have updated massive overhaul of our performance reviews. And one of the things that I've been wanting to do for so long was updating the actual rating scale. So historically, we had a rating of 1, which was basically never used. It was if somebody had already had a performance improvement plan and they hadn't completed it successfully. So practically no one got that rating, which essentially made it a 4-point scale. So now we have updated our range so that the rating of 1 is someone who would be moving into a performance improvement plan, not that they had completed it. And so basically we split out 2 and 3. So the people who had pretty much formally landed in the 3 are going to be split between the 2, and it gives employees, supervisors, everyone around a better idea of how they're actually doing than to put everybody smack dab. Everybody gets a 3. That's the normal score. And so it was a more granular way to build that out. So all that to say, there's one more category in here where someone could get a merit bonus. Any questions?
I do have some questions.
Get me, Ruth.
So I have been involved in these kind of scales, and someone told me once that it's better to have 4, because if you have 5, people tend to go to the 3 all the time. So I wondered if you could comment about that.
I can. We've had essentially 4 for a long time. And what I found happening was that supervisors were super reticent to give people a 2 in the past. And so the people who were good and okay, all ended up in the same category. And then our super thoughtful and kind supervisors had a really hard time with the fact that nobody wanted to get a good or a 3. Nobody wanted a 3. They thought that was a bad score. And so oftentimes people would end up kind of in the great category, but they weren't really great. And so there were lots of conversations about that. How does, what are they doing that's great? Let's think about this. How is it justified? To me, the more granular that you can get, the better it is from a legal perspective and a documenting performance perspective. Because if you've got somebody who is really having a hard time, they need to be told to really improve their performance. That's, okay, let's say the first score. And then we're formally are 2. Then you've got 3, which is fine. And then you've got 4, which is really good. And you've got outstanding. There was nothing in between doing bad enough to be put on a performance improvement plan and doing well. And so let's say you get to a point where you're like, this person really needs help. We have no documentation in any performance appraisal to show that they were doing anything but pretty good. And so that was difficult.
And that was part of the discussion with the committee. You
Absolutely.
had a lot of conversation about that.
Yes, we did.
So do you have like a definition for what those categories mean?
I sure do.
Okay.
They were in Stephanie's. It was the same thing. The one thing,
No, so I think I mean more for like, so like when I do an evaluation, right? Like I have highly effective, needs improvement, improvement necessary, right?
Right.
But then there's indicators under each one that allows me to score somebody for that.
yes,
Where like for this one, I felt like I didn't really have something that told me what the ultimate.
okay.
would
Like what does
encompass.
good look for,
Mhm.
good look like
Yeah.
for,
So
so
does that exist for this?
it not that granularly, and I'll tell you why, because we have, I think it's like 70 individual different jobs. So we have, the way that the staff's reviews are set up are 3 basic questions that everybody gets. So that is to look at attendance, attitude, and professionalism and customer service. And under each of those categories, which apply to everyone, we do have, okay, think about these factors. And then we say, all right, are they meeting expectations under each of those questions? Do they, I'm trying to think of one of the things that's under professionalism, customer service. It's like, do they meet their deadlines? Are they regularly, taking on new tasks? I'm making things up. I know there are other things. I mean, there's probably,
For your transparency.
yeah, I know that's not one of them, but it would work.
Dawn's coming to
Say
you.
somebody has it.
This is the professional.
Professionalism. So do you reflect on it? How do they handle patron interactions, both routine and challenging situations? What approaches do they use to ensure a positive outcome? Communication style and effectiveness across different channels, verbal, written, email. How do they adapt their communication styles based on the audience or situation? Maintaining confidentiality in their work. Track record on meeting project deadlines and managing tasks. So these are the things that we're asking managers to look through, to think about. When they're reviewing a person. And yes, these are meets expectations, doesn't mean it. When it comes to these things, it is, I would say, different than teaching where it might be test scores or these things equal that. And this is more about, do they have patron complaints? Have you witnessed them having a good patron interaction? Are they using our BLAST protocol, which is our customer service protocol? In the line of work that they're doing, it is a little bit more difficult to make it rubricized, you know?
That's the exact word I was thinking in my head.
Rubricized is a word that I just made up in this moment.
So then I guess how do you distinguish if you're a manager, what makes someone a 5 versus a 4?
Well,
I think
we
the other
have-
ones are kind of,
Right, well, we have standards for all of these things. We have standards for how our customer service staff or frontline staff are working with the patrons. And so then when we're talking about satisfactory and it's, they meet expectations most of the time, but they never really exceed them. You're basing them on each of those standards that we've created. And then I know, Ruth, we've talked about this every year, and I've tried to make it, every year the goal is to try to take as much subjectivity out of it as we possibly can, which was actually the reason that we went through this whole overhaul, was to try to make it as objective as possible. So we have those 3 standard questions that apply to everyone. And then the staff have, after a higher level, lower level staff have the option to add goals, but they aren't required to have goals. So they have goals, and then they have competencies that are intentionally tied in specifically with the work that they're doing.
To the
So-
job description.
And their job description, and then, you know, we sat down with every single department head and said, all right, this is what we, just based on the job description, this competencies, is there anything else that we're missing? Do we need to adjust the job description? Is there, you know, all of those things that go into it as well, so that they can look at it and say, instead of just saying, oh yeah, they're good overall, we can say, no, their advisory is excellent, but they really they're really struggling on the tech skills, so that they can really see where they need to improve, and it helps the manager identify where their strengths are, where they need to work on, what they need to work on, but also the employee knows where they're at as well. I know it's not as concrete as a rubric.
But I think the competencies go a long way with that.
Yes.
And Ross Haney, who works in Kara's department, did spend a lot of time with those job descriptions and bringing competencies
Yes.
over.
But frankly, I think it would be the ROI on trying to determine every single job, what good readers advisory looks like at this level, at that level, at this level. It would be like, I don't know if it would even be possible to be that. You know, this is very official what this means, but
Anybody have any other questions? Yes, Alan.
Okay, so we've been talking now about, I think, the bonus
yes,
portion of it, right?
Correct.
So from the standpoint of the overall, I think the recommendation here is that we have a 4% increase.
yes,
Right, okay. So all I know is what I read in the popular newspaper here, but it seems to me like with at least other governmental units in St. Joseph County seem to be really struggling with budgets and seem to be particularly struggling with compensation and payment. And it sounds like 4% is more than what other governmental units in St. Joseph County seem to be doing, except in South Bend, it seems like the teachers are getting a big bump.
Mhm.
Okay, but other separate approach from that, it sounds like that. So do we have a sense, when you all sat down and you're recommending to us that we increase compensation by 4% sort of across the board here? How does that compare with, first of all the other libraries in the state, what they're doing going into 2026? And with other governmental units across the state, do we have that? How did you all come up
Yeah.
with that?
So,
How does that? compare
Funny,
with
funny
everybody
you should
else?
ask this, Alan. We thought there was a good chance that this question might come up. And Anjanette has an answer for you. I'll let her.
So I
answer.
think it's a kind of a mixed bag, right? So when we did our budget, I'm in the Indiana Library Bookkeepers group, and I asked who's giving what, and some people, most of the people, I'm not saying that out of all of the libraries, I got like hundreds of libraries that answered my question, right? They didn't. So most of them were giving 3 to 4%. Once, then I talked to Kara, and she talked to some folks that were in HR libraries, and they all were not giving anything.
Except for one,
Except for
Evansville,
one. Except
which
for
is
one.
very similar to us in size, their population, they're like mimicking.
And then, literally, after we had our conversation, I got another email, somebody asking the same question from the library bookkeepers group. They were again, I did not get 100 people, I'm gonna be very transparent about that. But the ones that answered said 4%, someone was giving 6%, because they said, if we don't give this 6% now, and when SB 1 happens, you may not get anything for 3 years. So they wanted to, it's a mixed, for me, from my perspective, it is mixed. From when Kara and I talked about it, and then when we talked to Stephanie, we really did look at, number one, what have we done this year, to look at our expenditures overall? Where are we? What money do we still have, that we are able to go into 2026? And we've shifted some things so that we could, pay some things out of these dollars, so we can ensure that we had money for next year. And really have looked at what we've spent on salaries in the past. We've never spent our budget. We feel that we can really, look at it right now and say, we can do this for 2026. We'll pay attention and see what we can do going forward. So I would say from a library perspective, at least what I've heard, it's mixed.
Mixed bag. And I was,
Stephanie probably got a comment, so.
so from my perspective, the library is the people who are there. We need to maintain our buildings, right? But how we treat our staff, how we maintain a high quality staff is about work-life balance. It's about compensation. It's about how they're treated by their supervisors, right? It's this whole kind of package for retention. We know what our expected revenue is for next year. We can meet this easily with our expected revenue for next year. I remember when Circuit Breaker, all the talk about Circuit Breaker, when that happened, there was a lot of panic in how people adjusted to those changes. And I don't want to panic. So we want to be prudent. We want to be thoughtful. We want to be prepared, but I don't want to panic. So I want to give pay increases when and where we can. And I already know this does not keep up with inflation with where we're currently at. I think and particularly for our lowest paid employees, grocery inflation, I heard this week, 25% over 5 years ago. That's a huge cost for people. So
Gas 37 in the last 2 years increased.
It's cheap on Thanksgiving.
Natural gas.
Sure.
And
The
healthcare.
wiper.
And we're managing to level our healthcare, our health insurance. So, I value our staff so much, and we have a really outstanding staff that while we can do pay increases, but I have also been open with them that the future is unknown, but while we can, we will. And
I'm sure they appreciate that.
And we're looking at a lot of things. For instance, the switch in software allowed us to do away with our purchasing software, which was $15,000.
$11,000 something.
But we've got a lot of things that we save money on, not just that.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're
It's-
working
it's
our way through that and being really, and again, Anjanette and I, in the next couple months here, will really work through those plans.
Okay, so I assume in order for us to move forward for next year, we need to adopt this month so that the budget all works for
Correct.
that. Okay, fine. My request is for next year,
Mhm.
instead of coming to us in November, can we, like in July or August or whenever you guys start thinking about things, can you come to us, not with a proposal with the actual in stone, but you can say, we'll put it together, the budget. We've talked to, you had a few conversations, you've had a few conversations. We've actually done, we're trying to really figure it out logically. If we're gonna have an increase, a decrease, whatever it's gonna be, it'd be helpful for us in advance, a couple months in advance to know, because this is a big part of our overall package of our people. That's big cost. Just so we kind of know what you're thinking about, so we know if it's, if we're gonna be, that we know ahead of time where we're sort of looking, kind of like you do with the budget. We have ahead of time. Maybe we know a month or two in advance, this is where we think we're going with budget. It looks like we're gonna be recommending a 4%. And based on that, we've talked to these 12 libraries and these 12 libraries are doing this, or these governmental units, or whatever it is that we're basing it on. So we kind of get a sense of what we're doing
Sure.
and how we're comparing to everybody.
And-
So we can defend it ourselves when we're saying you all went ahead and did a 4% increase and nobody else is
Well,
doing that in local government.
I think the number one response to that is, we saw the budget in September.
Sometimes.
We approved it in August. This is even, because what was your number?
Yes, that's
So
exactly the.
within the budget amount for 2026,
Yes. the
if every
13,000
position is
for 13
filled,
million.
Right.
100% of the time, it is only,
Typically, we
no,
spend,
just the one number for
How much
2026.
from
How
oh,
much?
9 million.
No, percent of budget.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, 84%, 74%.
74%. Every position filled,
Right,
100% of the time, 74% of the budget.
right.
That's already been approved.
That's already been approved.
Right. So,
And yeah, we start looking at the budget, Karen and I start
What we
figuring
can
out-
do, Anjanette, and I think this is probably sensible, given the challenges that we expect to see in the next couple of years, is we do have, and I don't know who is the finance committee this year, but we do have two members of the finance
Sure.
committee. That would probably be the appropriate way to funnel this through
yeah,
and get eyes on it a little earlier.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I have a question about your color-coded percentage layout based
Yes.
on current. So, there's a lot of discussion about merit pay. And in the school corporation, it really trends up. Like, we have a lot of highly effective teachers. I don't see that here. And so I'm curious about,
Down there, I was looking at a different place.
like your tender-hearted supervisors, why they're not rating everybody
So-
outstanding.
Well,
I think the narrative for a long time here was 3.
yeah,
And we're trying to hire, train, perform at that higher level, and I think we'll start seeing those numbers shift higher over the next few years.
I will say, since I started, it's been over 7 years now. I heard many times, we are not allowed to give a 5. And I said, well, I'm literally coming to you
No,
to
I'm
ask
not
you.
asking that. I'm asking, why doesn't everybody get a 5?
But
Oh,
that's what-
you're saying because they have never been.
They were literally
Got
not allowed to, and I would be going to people saying, hey, based on everything you wrote here, this really sounds like they are an absolute rock star. Have you considered giving them the highest score? And they would go, I can do that. And I would say, please do.
Okay. all right.
And fewer of that every year, but I still have to have that conversation.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, in that case, I will entertain a motion to accept 2026 wages and salaries.
Move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we've already had our discussions, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion passes. You're welcome.
Our staffing.
Other business, Ms. Murphy.
These are the proposed dates, and now I'm finding I do not have it.
Here, I got it.
For 2026 board meeting dates. We did look at that September one around a holiday there. The question for the group here, December is the tricky one. The 28th is obviously between Christmas and New Year's. And if I had my calendar, the week before, I think is perhaps
Is
Oh,
the
the week
21st.
Week before is the 21st.
the 21st.
So that would be the third weekend. Yeah, that to me would be better.
So we could do that either way.
Many people are gone that week.
Yeah,
What are the asterisks?
that's because that one is already not on the 4th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it is on the 4th,
Yes, it is.
September.
Maybe it was May 18.
I mean, I'm probably around the 28th personally, I think. But having said that, I would think that some of your staff may not be, especially with the 24th, 24th, 25th, and the next week being that. I mean, would it be better for everybody if we did it the 21st? I
I think so.
don't mind. I don't mind doing it the 21st.
You like to be
Yeah,
gone.
the 26th and like the
Yeah,
second.
21st.
Leave me alone.
Understand. Okay, so we'll change that one to the 21st. Azaria will make sure we do that.
Any other comments? So you examined any holiday conflicts? I think we
Correct.
had one this year.
It doesn't affect the Jewish holidays.
It does
It
not.
does not.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And you'll see the May one is a week earlier because of Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Um,
All right,
So
so,
we think we, never 100%, we're pretty sure we covered it all.
okay, all right. So with the amendment of December 28th being changed to December 21st, do I have a motion to approve the dates of the meetings? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you. Do we have any hearing of visitors? Anybody signed up? No, Lisa.
Rolling on the list.
Okay. So our next board meeting date is December 22nd, right here. And I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.